welcome to the Coding Channel. Today is the 5th episode of our Python tutorial series for beginners. And in this episode, we are going to talk about how to use the continue, break, and else statements in Python. This and more when we come back. In our previous episode, we've talked about the while loops in Python. And we've learned from that episode that we can use the while loop for known number of repetition and at the same time for unknown number of repetition. Let's say, for example, in here, this one is an example of a counter controlled repetition or known number of repetition, because we know that if n, for example, if the initial value is 0, so and then we have the condition n less than or equal to 5, so meaning to say we will iterate 6 times. We will execute these statements inside of the while loop. Now, how do we know if that statements, for example, are under the while loop or within the scope of while loop? Okay, it's because of the Python indentation. So as you can see, this one is we call this as a first level of indentation. So once you proceed the statements with an indentation, it only means that these two statements, the assignment statement and the output statement, these are code to be executed once the condition is still true. Okay, so again, what's the syntax of while loop? So we have the initialization, we have the condition, and then take note that we have a colon there. So you can actually put a white space there. It doesn't matter with a white space or without white space. That is still a valid syntax. Okay, and this one, the n plus equals 1 is just an assignment statement, the same as n is equal to n plus 1. Okay, and then so for example, if you want to run this program, okay, so as you can see, the output, these are the outputs, so number 1 up to number 6. Okay, now what will happen, for example, if I'm going to delete the indentation there, and then I will align the output statement in while? Is this a syntax error? The answer is no. As you can see, if we're going to run this, what do you think is the output? Python will execute only the assignment statement having the indentation here, because the scope of while now is only this statement, because this is the only statement with indentation. This one is outside now of the while loop. So therefore, if we're going to run this one, the output now is only number 6, which is the final value of n. So that's the difference. So take note of that. Indentation in Python is very important. Okay, because Python only relies on the indentation. We don't have any curly braces here or brackets here, unlike in other programming languages like Java. Okay, so take note of that. Keep that in mind. Okay, now, and also in our previous example, in our previous episode, I mean, we've talked about the if, the elif, and then we have the else. We've used the else statement there. And normally in other programming languages also, we normally use the if-else statements, right? But in Python, we can also use the else in while. So it's like while else. Oh, so that's if you're new in Python, you will be surprised that there is a while else. Okay, but it only means that when the condition of while, for example, is already false, Python will execute the else statements if ever you provided an else statement. So I'll just let me put this back, okay, as part of the while loop. Okay, now, for example, if I'm going to put an else statement here, okay, so this code, whatever code that I'm going to put inside of the else statement will be executed once the while condition is already false. Okay, so let me modify this simple program. Let's say, for example, here, aside from displaying the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for example, we will just add those numbers. Okay, so I have the initial value of sum here to I initialize it to 0. So I will use sum here now. Sum is equal to sum plus the value of n, for example. Okay, and then, of course, we will print or we will display the output of sum after we've displayed all the numbers from numbers 1 to number 6, right? So meaning we will just output the sum is, for example, the sum is, and then whatever the value of sum. Okay, so that is only once. So meaning we will execute that if the condition is already false. Okay, so let me add another output statement here. So for example, I have the sum is, I'm sorry, just have to double quote and then comma, and then the sum is sum. Okay, something like that. So let's try. If we're going to run, okay, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the sum is 21. Why? 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 21. So that's the essence or the importance of else here in while. Okay, which wherein normally we use else as a partner of if. So in Python, we can also use else again as a partner of while once the condition is already false. Okay, so take note of that. Okay, so let me just add another output statement here. For example, let's say program terminated. What does it mean now? Is this a print still part of a while? Of course not. Is this a print still part of else? Of course not. Why? Because this one is being aligned with the else. If I'm going to put the print here with an indentation, it only means that these two statements will be executed once the condition in while is already false. Okay, if we're going to run, so the output is, we have the sum is 21 and the program terminated. Okay, but if I'm going to put it like that, okay, for example, if I'm going to run again, the output is still the same. Okay, but I'll give, we will discuss another statement to have, to show you that there is a difference now of using the print outside of else and the print inside of the else statement. So let me copy this one. I hope that you already understand the else, the use of else inside of the I mean in while. So we have while else. Okay, just comment down below if you if you have some clarifications regarding the else, the use of else statement in our while example here. Okay, so let me copy this one and I just put it here. Okay, because aside from the else, for today's episode, we will be talking about the break and the continue statement. Okay, let's talk about a break statement. With a break statement, we can stop the loop even if the while condition is true. Okay, so for example, I'm going to add an if statement here after the assignment statement or the increment statement. So for example, if n is equal to 4, okay, what I'm going to do, if n is equal to 4, break. Meaning, So what's the functionality of break here? If the value of n is equal to 4, even if the while condition is true, okay, we will break out of this loop, we will exit, and then we will execute the statement outside of this while else. And what is that statement outside of the while else statement? It's the out statement in line number 20. Okay, so let's try. So that's the main difference. Okay, so as you can see, uh, our out. I'm sorry. Let me um, run this one. We're running again the wrong file. I mean the old one. Okay, so this one. Here's the output now of having a break statement. So we have number one, number two, number three. Since once the value of n is now equal to 4, so program terminated. What have you noticed? Using break, using break, Python will not execute the else statement. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say here. Okay, that's what I'm trying to present to you. That with a break statement there, since the condition is still true, because the only thing or the only time that Python will execute the else statement is when the condition of while is already false. But in this case, the condition is still true. But since we have used the break statement, okay, we force to go out, to exit, okay, from this while else, for example. So that is why Python will not execute the else statement. And what's the output statement so far? Aside from 1, 2, 3, it's the statement outside of the while else. So that is the main difference. Okay? So again, the else statement will be executed only if and only if the while condition here is false. Okay? That's the I hope that you understood already what I'm trying to say. Next, let's talk about continue. If there's a break, of course, we need to continue, right? In so many things, if you've experienced, break, so we need to continue. We need to move on, something like that. Okay, I'm just kidding. Okay, let's continue. What about continue? With this keyword continue, we can stop the current iteration and continue with the next. Okay, here's the difference. We're going to run. Okay. Well, what have you noticed? Using the after using the break, now we're using the continue keyword. What have you noticed? We have now 1 and 2 and 3. No number 4. And then we continue to 5 and 6. Okay, so meaning we disregard the if n is equal to 4, so I mean Python will not execute the print statement here, okay, because we have a continue, meaning we just move to the next iteration. Okay, so that's the functionality of continue keyword compared to break. Okay, we will still continue, life still goes on. Okay, and then so that's it. Okay, so again, if you have questions regarding the continue and then with the break statement, just comment down below and I will answer that question. And also, if you wanna message me, I put the link in our Instagram account so that you can just message me anytime if you have that questions regarding this topic. Okay, and I'm more than willing to answer your question. And if you have watched our previous episode, now if we're going to apply this new learnings, we have the break, the continue, and then the else statement. Uh, if you've watched that episode, so we will try now to incorporate this uh, statements. Okay, so for example, in here, let's try this one first without the else, the break. Okay, for example, we have the score, right? 89, 90, 78, 56, and then 45. Okay, so the sum is 358. Okay, and then the average is 71.6. Okay, so what do you think if we're going to use the else? So which statements are the appropriate statements that we need to include in our else statement here? Okay, so most probably the average, the print, okay, the sum is, the average is. These are now the statements inside of our else. Okay, so that's it. Okay, and then you just need to have an indentation here. Okay, so by having the else, okay, so the output is also the same. Okay, yes, but if we're going to incorporate also here the what inside, we will incorporate the if condition here with, for example, if a grade is equal to -1. Okay, so we have an option now to, if you don't want to finish the loop, okay, once the user have entered -1, even if this one is a counter controlled repetition, okay, we still have it's like you're giving your user, the user of your program, okay, an option that anytime he or she may enter -1 to stop the loop. Okay, so let's try. So for example, we have 90, 89, 78, and then if the user will enter -1, okay, so what have you noticed? Process finished with exit code 0. Again, the else statements will not be executed. Why? Because again, the counter is still, the condition in our while is still true. So that's the difference. Okay? But if we will omit, or let me put this one inside of the comment. Okay? If I'm going to put the average, the print, okay, outside having the break statement, okay, if we're going to run, for example, 90, 89, 78, -1, we still have the output. Okay? Because this one is not under the else. Okay? Regardless of whether this condition, for example, is true or false, Python will still execute the statement since this one is not under the else statement. Okay? That's it. And then, for example, what if okay, I will just put the break here, and I will add another if statement. For example, what if a grade, if grade this time is equal to 0, okay, and then we will use the continue here. Okay, observe what will happen, and then I will just put, for example, here the else. Okay, let's try to run. This time around, we have now the continue. So 90, 89, 0. Once I press the 0, since we're talking of grade here, so Python or our loop will still continue to prompt us to enter this time a score of 4. So we will, the score 3 now will be ignored. Okay, so waiting for our input. And then, for example, we have 99 there. So as you can see, the sum is 356. The average is 89. Average of this 4 scores. Okay, except for the score 3 because this one is 0. And that's all for today. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And as always, show your love through comments and favorites. God bless and thank you for watching.